Welcome, dear friends, to another Thursdays with RamDev. I'd like to talk today about mantra, my favorite practice, my most consistent practice. When I was leaving India, I asked Maharaji, I'm going back to America. I used to be a scientist. Do you have any instructions for me? What should I do when I go back to America? And he said, my only instruction is to keep saying the mantra I gave you. Keep saying God's name. Mantra is a very robust practice. If you're frightened, if you're agitated, you can always call out God's name. If you're in a very refined place, the mantra can become refined. We often think of mantra as I'm doing something, I'm saying God's name. But as mantra practice deepens, it becomes more and more about receiving the blessing that is the name. So we start out by saying God's name, please show up. I miss you. I felt you before. I've read books about people who love you so much. I don't feel it right now. Please, please give me your darshan. Show up for me in my heart. And as that prayer, as that mantra deepens, the heart begins to open. And then there's this loving relationship. I'm having this loving relationship with the beloved, that God and I are having this love affair. And as that deepens and identification with self begins to fall away, the tantric level, that it's all sacred, begins to be revealed. And in fact, we begin to get the experience that the name of God is God, that me who sang the mantra and the sound of the mantra and the deity of the mantra are all the same. So if I'm saying Ram, it's not just calling out to God, it's not even having a love affair with God only, but it's actually God in that moment. Ram, the sound of God, is God. And it can even take us further into non-dual devotion, if you will, that we get so deeply into seeing the sacred nature of everything that finally the I who is seeing it begins to dissolve into the spaciousness. We're not talking about repressing, we're not talking about suppressing thought, but really thought is the biggest obstacle at almost all levels of practice. So what we're talking about here is, can we undercut thought, replace all the wandering thoughts with the thought of God? Namdev, the great saint from India, whose practice was mantra, said, the entire universe is permeated densely with God's name. So my voice right now, the chair or the cushion you're sitting on, it's all permeated with God's name. Maharaji would take people to places, holy places like Chitrakoot, and allow them to see with their third eye that every leaf on every tree had Ram written on it. So that really we can use mantra to die into love, not just calling out for love, not just feeling love, but dying into love, becoming love. The Bible says, become like little children. We usually try to figure things out. Maharaji said, it's much better to trust in God than to try to figure things out. And he also said, it's better to just trust God in the sense of that everything is possible by repeating God's name. Right now, as I'm talking, is it possible that back deep inside of me, the name is just repeating silently, subvocally, even just in my heart? Can I be saying these words and having the prayer be going on at the same time? There's a verse in the Bible that says, pray without ceasing. Now, clearly, we have to talk, we have to think, we have to sleep. And the only way we can pray without ceasing is if we take the mantra or the prayer so deeply into our hearts that we're not doing the practice anymore. The practice is doing us. We've surrendered so fully into the practice that we disappear. Ram Ram, I leave you with that. So many blessings. Bye-bye.